my employees are great. They really are. And they have what's really have made me successful and, taking stress level away from me. And, it's just so important. The number one thing is to treat people like you would be treated. And if you do that, you're going to be successful.
Welcome to Wealth and Life, where you'll learn with financial planner, consultant, speaker, and business owner, Tony D'Amico. You'll hear stories from successful business owners and individuals about how they navigated the inevitable challenges that arose as they achieved each new level of success. And you'll get insights and strategies from leading wealth planning professionals on how to achieve your next level of success. Now here's your host, Tony D'Amico.
Well, welcome to Wealth and Life. John, really excited to have you as a guest today.
Thank you.
And, Dr. John Oswald is here with us today. And again, really looking forward to having this conversation and just for you to kind of share your journey, kind of starting off, how you obviously have a very successful business today, but I would love to hear about how you started your business and that journey. So maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business today.
Sure. I'm 62 years old and graduated from Case Western Reserve University School of Dentistry 36 years ago in 1984. I practice right now in Parma, Ohio I have about 10 staff members. And a partner, another partner dentist with me that joined me a number of years ago. It's working out very well so far. I live in Medina, Ohio, and my wife and I raised 4 children who have now fled the nest and are on their own, and 3 of which who have also gone into the dental and medical profession. So
that's awesome.
My wife's a registered nurse also, so I think we kind of had a little bit of influence there along the way for them too. So
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I remember one of the things that you shared with me was how your father was a dentist, right? And he never really pushed that on you. You told me off camera, but he, definitely kind of made that an option for you. So it's kind of neat. How many generations of dentists are there in your family?
Well, my daughter's the 4th one. Actually, my father's a dentist, and his father was a dentist also. And when I was in 2nd grade, I remember they had us kind of draw something that we wanted to be, what we wanted to be when we got older. So I always wanted to be a doctor. And in 2nd grade, you kind of have a little bit of limited knowledge, but I drew this gurney with a patient on it. And being to the pediatrician so many times and having injections, I drew myself there with a couple nurses, and I had the shot giver there in my hand, and it was huge. So that's kind of where I kind of got started wanting to be a doctor, I guess, with the influence of my father and grandfather, in the medical or dental field. And that's kind of how I got started and kind of went that way and saw that my dad, had a pretty decent life, not having to run into the office, or having long hours. And I thought, that's what I would like. So that's why I chose to become a dentist, and really glad I did. And it's been great ever since.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So what was it like kind of maybe just getting established in your career and then maybe taking that jump to start your own practice?
When I first got out of dental school, whenever anybody gets out of dental school or any profession like that, you're pretty much green as grass. You know the basics. And that's about it. Mm-hmm. You don't know how to manage a practice unless you've had business experience. You don't really know how to really quite manage patients yet. So I was actually employed at 4 different places when I got out of dental school, part-time. Wow. Yeah, I was with a dentist in North Royalton a couple days a week. I was with a dentist in Parma a couple days a week. I also worked in a prison down in Massillon, Ohio for 1 or 2 days a week. Plus, I was also teaching a little bit part-time at the dental school. So after, a few years doing all that, I kind of gained some knowledge. Then I finally just drifted and went to work with a dentist in Parma that where I kind of ended up being an associate for for 8 to 10 years, something like that. So
Yep.
it all worked out real well.
That's great. So I know that again we've talked off camera, and that foundational period was really from about 1984 to 1996, right, where you really worked with for other people, really kind of learning, like you mentioned, not only how to be a good dentist, but learning the business. So, and in 1996, I know that was the time that you made that decision to own your own practice. So that's a huge jump. And so what was that?
It was.
What was that like? What was your thoughts then? And what was maybe the final thing that said, okay, I'm going to start my own practice?
Well, the dentist I was with, I really wanted to kind of stay there with the dentist I was with in Parma. And I had approached him a couple of times, hey, I'd like to be part owner of the business and start to buy in. Well, to make a long story short, I was strung along for a couple of years, and I kind of saw the light at the tunnel finally and decided, hey, kick myself in the pants, hey, it's time to get out and do something on your own. So luckily, there was a dentist that used to come into the office because it was on the ground floor, and his office was a few stories up. So he'd come over from time to time and use our operatories just to treat some patients who were wheelchair bound or couldn't get up the steps, and kind of got to know him a little bit before this happened. And when I kind of finally realized that, hey, he doesn't want you here, it's time to go, I, out of the blue, just thought, well, you know what? What am I going to do? I'm going to give this dentist a call. Maybe he's ready to retire. I don't know. Maybe he'll know something. So I called him up, and I asked him what his plans are, if he's getting ready to retire, or any ideas along those lines. Well, he practically jumped through the phone and said yes, that he'd love to talk to me. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is great, because he was only like 2 blocks away from where I had been practicing, and luckily I had no employment contract with the dentist I was with, so that I could leave when I wanted, which was kind of, I guess, poor planning on his part, possibly. I think things are obviously done a lot different now, but, I was able to negotiate with my attorney, a good option to buy his practice. And I was able to leave the current one, and luckily, most of my patients followed me there.
Awesome.
I sent them letters and stuff, which you don't do nowadays. He let me do that, which was, I guess, kind of nice of him. I think he's probably kicking himself back now for doing that. But all those patients came with me, and about 2 or 3 staff members followed me.
Oh, wow.
To the new practice, which was only 2 blocks down the road. And, I gained all of Dr. Rocco's patients, when I bought the practice. Very few of them left. They all pretty much stayed. They'd been coming to this building and to him for quite a number of years. So, I think a lot of that transferred. He was a really good dentist and a really nice guy and stuff too. So I think that's a lot what happened there. So that's basically kind of how I got started. And, I really didn't know a whole heck of a lot about running a business, So I kind of had to rely on some professionals, accountants and attorneys and friends, and read books and things like that, and kind of figured it out by the seat of my pants, so to say. And, I guess I did pretty well with it. I wasn't perfect. I wish I would have had some more training in business and running a business, which they don't do the greatest job at dental school. We had one course that really wasn't the greatest. But anyways, they were into teaching us about how to be good dentists. So,
sure.
You're on your own, but that's where it was.
Sure. Well, you definitely have a very successful business and practice and great reputation in your community.
Thank you.
But I guess maybe looking back when you started your practice, what do you think you maybe wished you would have known back then that would have maybe made it easier to be a business owner?
I think one of the things, which maybe wasn't all completely my fault, I wished I would have started a little bit earlier than I did looking for a practice, or, moving out and doing it on my own. But I think that I was kind of delayed a little bit like that from being, promised something and it just kind of never was materializing. And I can understand on his part. He really didn't want to sell to me. So looking back, that's one of the things. The other thing that too I think is really important is to have a coach with you. I didn't. And now looking back, I wish I did, i.e. having a financial planner to kind of help you along the way. Regardless, yes, back then, obviously I didn't have much or anything, but I think it would be a good thing to have somebody like that to help you get through, a practice transition like that, plus also with your life and where your finances are going to go, and to be a big help to you, because I tried to do some of it myself. I guess I did pretty good with it, but, I'm not a professional in it, and I think that's one of the biggest things.
Sure.
The other thing, I think, right now, looking back, would be to have, I think there are companies out now that do HR, human resources. They do your payroll, they do, your office policy manual, your different taxes, all these different things that are encompassed with that. I was doing it myself.
And I take it that wasn't something that you enjoyed doing.
No, it wasn't. I was kind of forced to do it. I did it. I guess I was somewhat successful with it. Everything worked out pretty good. But it was kind of a burden, and I wish somebody else would have done it. I, unfortunately, have to be type A personality, and nobody can do it as well as I can do it. And, that was kind of dumb on my part. I wished I would have delegated more to other people. And I did learn a lot along the way, but that was one of my mistakes, not delegating real well, because I like to be in control, and nobody's going to do it as good as I do it. You know the scenario. So
sure, and that's a journey.
Those are the two mistakes I think I kind of made. So.
Yeah, and that's a journey for many business owners, right? We do our best to have that foundation, like you mentioned, having the right advisors initially to start that foundation for your business and start that foundation for your personal planning as well. And I would echo that you did a great job on your own to get things started, and we all can look back in hindsight. But I think these are very valuable lessons, though, because I agree. I think the best thing to do is to have that foundation completely solid. And that allows you then to focus on what you like doing best, right? And knowing you, we've talked off camera, you like taking care of patients. You like leading your company and your team, and not necessarily all the other items that come along with it, like bookkeeping or other HR things that you have to do. So and delegation as well too, right? Because you do take initiative, right? So on one side, entrepreneurs take initiative, but then they hit a point where they have to delegate.
Exactly.
So was there a moment when you had an experience with something and you're like, you know what? I need to delegate a lot more?
Yes, there was. And it was probably about a year or two ago when I kind of finally started to realize that I'm doing too much and I need to delegate some of these things to my partner, who's also another dentist, my partner at the dental office, to have her start doing some of these things, because it needed to be spread out. Some things have to be done by us, and I'm realizing now that I'm 62, going to be 63, I need to kind of start passing on some of this knowledge to her, because I want the business to be successful and to keep moving forward. So
great.
That's where we ended. So
sure, right? That's where you kind of had that light bulb moment. It's
exactly.
Like, okay, you can't.
I wish it would have happened sooner. But everything happens for the best. I have to look at it that way, and I'm not going to feel bad about myself or guilty. Everything happens for the best.
Yeah.
And actually, I feel, honestly, from doing this, going through this, I feel more at peace and more relaxed and more confident for the future, believe it or not. So
that's great. And that's because of, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just maybe the intentionality of your plan with your business, right? The intentionality of your business plan and sharing the duties and kind of where this is all going over the next 12 months, but also over the next 5 years. Is that accurate to say?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one of the reasons I believe people start a business is to, eventually sell it. So I think at the beginning, succession planning is also real important to be done with an attorney. And I did do that. That's one of the things I guess I lucked out and did.
Sure.
So was succession planning. And that has given me such great peace of mind when that was done 30 years ago or whenever it was when I started with it, got out on my own, has really given me a lot of peace of mind right now to know that somebody is going to buy my other part of the business, because I look and I see other friends that I have haven't done that. And it's kind of, difficult for them to find somebody to do it unless you have somebody under contract, which I think is probably one of the smartest things I did. It wasn't me, it was my attorney suggesting it.
That's
said,
great.
That's great. So that's one of the most important things about starting a business, having a plan in mind, but also having the end in mind also, and how you're going to get there with succession planning. So I lucked out with that in that part. So,
John, the great part about working with you and helping you manage all this is that you've had a lot of these pieces in place. And so it's been just kind of continuing to manage and adjust things, because time goes by. You set these things up a while ago, and it's much easier to manage kind of your business plan and your long-term succession plan and make tweaks that you have to do as we've done together. But I wish all business owners, I could tell you it's very rare when we start working with a business owner that they have a succession plan in place. Typically what I hear is, hey, Tony, I want to possibly retire in 6 months. And it's like, well, wait a minute. What's the succession plan? Who is it that's going to take over? But when does succession planning start? You nailed it on the head. It starts pretty much day one.
Absolutely.
It takes so much time to find the right person that's aligned with you philosophically, culturally, that wants to treat patients or clients the same way that you do. And it takes many years, to kind of groom them to be able to do that. So again, I just commend you for your proactivity, and really success leaves clues. And there's a lot of clues that you are dropping here. And one of them is just your proactivity. And the one thing about you is you never wait for somebody to give you the answer. You pick up the phone and you make phone calls.
Absolutely.
Whether it's to your advisory team or to somebody that might want to sell their practice, like you did with Dr. Rocco. So that's really cool.
Thank you.
So I guess today, what do you like most about your business?
What I like most about it, I love treating patients. The business part, I do it. I'm glad I can eventually start to get rid of it. But what I really like is that I'm a people person, not only with my patients, but with my staff also. Very rarely do we have a patient leave our office because they didn't like us or we did something wrong. Hey, I'm not perfect. Yes, it's happened, but the same goes along with our employees. None of them really ever leave unless they get pregnant and they want to start a family or whatever the reason is, but it's never because of that. And I've always known, and the way I was brought up is to treat people like you would want to be treated. Yes, I'm a doctor, but whether I'm outside or I'm in the office treating patients, I'm just like everybody else. I do not put myself on a pedestal. I never have. I put my employees and my patients on a pedestal because they're the ones that help me make me successful. So to make a kind of a long story short, I love treating patients. They come in, they're fearful, and it's
going to the dentist isn't the most fun thing in the world, right?
At our office it is.
Good. That's great. That's great.
We try to make it that way.
That's
what
great.
Everybody says. So we get a lot of compliments about that. And I mean, I see things on TV. It's, doing this is like going to the dentist and get a root canal. Don't perpetuate the fear and the problems like that. I think it's best. Dentistry's changed a lot nowadays, and people realize that. But anyways, I'm getting off the topic. I apologize.
No, that's
but
good.
it's getting on a personal relationship with patients when they come in and tell you about their stories and different things, and that's what I like most about it. And that's something that's going to always continue, and we're always going to everybody's going to remember. And same with my staff members. Yes, I have to be the boss, and yes, I have to be the leader, but we try to make it like a family, a family atmosphere, not only with the staff, but with the patients also. So that's kind of what I try to do. And I'm thank God that the people I have, my employees, are great. They really are. And they have what really have made me successful, and taking stress level away from me. And it's just so important. The number one thing is to treat people like you would be treated. And if you do that, you're going to be successful. You don't have to worry about the money thing. That'll pretty much take care of itself.
Yes, it follows.
You take care of people. Listen to people. You have to listen. If you listen to people and patients, they'll diagnose themselves. You can't go in there and tell them what they need. You listen to what they say. Same with the employees. Don't tell them. Listen to what they have to say first, then come to an agreement. And I think that's one of the keys to being successful in your personal life and in your business life. It's very simple.
That's awesome. I mean, what you just said there is huge, and I think you got to the heart of the matter. And a couple other success clues here that you're leaving for our listeners is, putting others before yourself. And getting to know you over the years, I've learned that about you, is putting people ahead of yourself, putting employees, like you mentioned, because we're only as good as our employees are. Exactly. Because we're just one piece. Each of us are just one piece of the businesses that we have. And we're, they say that you need to almost take care of your employees before you take care of clients or patients, because they're important. Yeah, they're the ones that are taking care of them as well on a daily basis. So, just that listening, that's another success clue that you're, dropping here. I
think it's best for any business, no matter what, if it's financial planning like you're doing, being a dentist, being a veterinarian, or a car salesman. Listen.
The same thing.
Just listen. Yep. They'll sell themselves.
Right. Absolutely. Your approach, and then also too, with you're doing something that you're passionate about, right? You found I guess you want to call it your calling, your purpose in life. And I guess maybe do you have anything to share there as far as like maybe how you knew, like, I know your father was a dentist and your grandfather was a dentist, but how was it maybe, like, when did you really know that you were doing kind of what you're supposed to do?
Probably it wasn't until I really bought out this other dentist, after a few years, and got comfortable with being a dentist, treating patients and running the business. So it probably took a few years because everything was just so new to me, so new to me. I didn't have much of experience in any one of those. So, that's pretty much.
So after you settled in and you were taking care of patients, was that when you were like, aha, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. This is my purpose. Is
exactly.
That kind of when it sunk
exactly.
in?
See, and I also, before I went to dental school, I worked in a nursing home as an orderly.
Okay.
So I, learned to take care of patients and be personable with them. And, I kind of got a little bit of a history with that too, with helping people out. So it just kind of felt natural to help people out because, it's really rewarding when somebody comes in and they have dental pain, to be able to get them out of pain. It's very rewarding, not only for me, but also for the patients. So
sure,
they really appreciate that. And dental pain is really something that's very uncomfortable for people.
That's
So
that's great that you had that. So having that experience,
Yes.
you liked it, and it just kind of carried through.
yeah, it developed. Yes, correct.
That's awesome. So one of the things, again, you've shared with me off camera is just how instrumental your wife, Sharon, has been in supporting you and kind of playing a key role in a lot of the important things that are required to make sure that a business stays successful. So, and I know that your guys' partnership is very important to you. But I guess, can you share a little bit about that as far as what it's like, working with your significant other, and just kind of overall what that experience was like, and some of the benefits that we've talked about off camera?
Every successful man has a woman or wife telling them what to do to a certain point.
For sure.
And it's very true.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's like I said, putting yourself on everybody else's level. My wife was very good instrumenting and helping to get different things changed in the practice, and she had a really good head on her shoulders. I was more concerned with patient treatment, and she kind of really picked up over the years, doing some HR stuff, getting our recall system underway, and really being kind of instrumental in doing a lot of things. So she's been, I would say, obviously, yes, my number one partner in the business, other than my business partner. So she's really has learned a lot. She never really had any experience with any of this, but she really picked it up really well. So I think I picked a really good one a long time ago that really has helped make me successful, plus making the family successful. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So, so I know that you have, some of your children are dentists. So
Yes.
how, talk to us about that. What, were you surprised that they chose the dentistry path, and what did that look like?
My oldest daughter, as my dental hygienist, she went to dental hygiene school. She was kind of the first one that kind of entered the dental field, so to say. And then she became she didn't know what she wanted to do. So I, why don't you come in and assist for a little bit? So get a feel for it. She liked, and she went to hygiene school. Then my next two daughters, both were interested in going to dental school. And my youngest daughter decided that, that she thinks she's going to be a dentist. And so she came in and, observed me once and decided it wasn't for her, and chose the field of going into physical therapy, which she's done really well at. Then my middle daughter, between the two of them, found out that, that Chelsea was, my youngest daughter, Chelsea, she was thinking about it. So she right away jumped on the bandwagon because she thought she was going to go to physical therapy school. So the two of them switched their careers when either one of them found out what the other one was doing.
Wow.
Exactly. So they kind of did that on their own. They switched this, and it was the best thing to happen because my youngest daughter, Chelsea, is a physical therapist. She's really good with, physical therapy. She's not really good with, you have to be ambidextrous. I mean, you have to be good with your hands to become a dentist. You have to be an artist. Not that she isn't, but my middle daughter was more along those lines. So that fit her real well. Being a dentist, she went to dental school. She went to Ohio State and did really well there. She did great. So I guess, kind of like my parents were, you lead by example. And that's kind of what I did. I never forced them to do anything. I mentioned to them about, kids pick up a lot of things. They watch you. They watch what your parents do. It's so important that you do the right things and help to guide them a little bit without beating over the head. Oh, you're going to be a dentist, or you're going to be this, or you're going to go to law school. Just to provide that atmosphere, and they naturally follow suit. So I have to tell you that, yes, I am very proud of all my kids, but especially with one that has followed me in my career path, being a dentist, because
you have that in common.
Exactly. The two of us, it's not a closed thing, but the two of you know how to communicate and
Exactly.
talk with different things, just like two OBGYNs are going to talk. You're not going to understand what they're doing.
Right.
But it's just great.
You just have that common language of
Exactly.
work, right?
Exactly. And that has also brought us closer, too, which is, and it's great. It's really, I guess that is another part of being successful, having your children successful. And what better thing to have somebody follow you in your profession?
Yeah.
That's the biggest compliment I think anybody could get.
It's special, right? And
it is.
And at the same time, it sounds like that with that supportive environment and leading by example, you allowed them to discover what are their talents. And like you mentioned, one daughter found that she had certain talents and the other one had different talents. And then they felt they had that support to follow their talents. One was dentistry, one was something different, but nonetheless, right, they were in their sweet spot.
Exactly.
And so a really good friend of mine told me over 10 years ago, before our son was born, he said, Tony, your son growing up, it's like he's an empty hard drive. He's just going to soak up everything that you're doing. And boy, that just stuck with me. I'm so grateful for that friend that I have, but it's so true. It's
so true.
How do you lead by example, kind of maybe show them some things without naturally pushing them.
Exactly.
Right? Because I will tell you, there's a lot of businesses that I've gotten to know over the years where if it is very forceful, where they're trying to involve maybe the next generation and the family in the business, it's sometimes, it's not as successful whether when they just have that support, the exposure, but that support to naturally choose, on their own. So that's
Absolutely.
awesome. So, John, I know family is really important to you.
Yes.
And so it's we obviously have a lot in common as my wife is an owner of our firm as well, and family is important to us. But as you kind of think about maybe just the years moving forward, what's important to you? What are maybe some of what's important to you with your family moving forward?
What's important with my family moving forward? My family and my grandchildren, I want to spend time with them and try to, influence them and with some of my knowledge, not beating it into them, but, kind of suggesting it to them. And my children kind of have taken my suggestions, not within, with business and investing and life and things like that. So I think what's going to make me real happy and proud is to be able to see my children and my grandchildren be nurtured and turn into something great also. Mm-hmm. So that's going forward. That's what I think is going to be successful. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I'm glad that I've done everything I've done over the years to make myself financially stable. I'm not rich by any means, but I feel that I'm going to be comfortable, and I don't have to worry about that headache. I want to put my talents and treasures to work on my family and my grandchildren. And that's, I think, is the ultimate goal to have, at least for me.
That's awesome. So that's great. That's awesome, John. Thanks for sharing that.
I mean, that's just the way I've always been.
That's great. That's awesome. Boy, I'll tell you, we've talked about a lot of great things, and you really have shared a lot. And it's funny that the people that I know, that are talented like you, they kind of unconsciously are talented, and you've really shared so many valuable things. So
well, thank you.
I want to thank you for that. But as we wrap up, this podcast is about just achieving success where wealth and life intersect. And success means different things to different people, at different stages of life and their business. And, John, you've accomplished what most people would call a very successful business, a very successful, practice, a very successful family. But when you think about the intersection of wealth and life at this stage for you, and you kind of maybe already answered this, but what does success look like for you moving forward?
Yeah, just kind of like, what I just
mentioned
before.
With your family,
right? With the family. I think that's so important because, being a dentist and being busy, yes, I had spent time with my family, but, it's, you do the best you can. But now that I'm going to have more time, it's going to be fun to spend more time with my grandchildren. And that's really what success looks like to me right now, is to kind of start to enjoy life a little bit with them too. So
that's awesome.
That's basically how I look at success here going for the future, at least for me. Maybe it's a little bit narrow. I mean, I do have hobbies and things. I like bike riding and different things like that, fishing and things like that. I'm just not going to going to the dental office every day.
Sure.
I do other things on the side. So, but that's really basically how I want to lead this life, being successful and passing on what I can to help
your
out
values, your knowledge,
family, my knowledge, and whatever I can do, even to help other people out that aren't even in my family, like my patients and staff members. I'm concerned about them too. So
that's awesome. John, you've been an awesome guest.
Well, thank you.
I want to thank you very much for being on the podcast today.
Very good. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for asking. I enjoyed it.
Do you want even more ideas, tools, and resources on how to achieve the next level of success in your wealth planning? Check out wealthandlife.com, where Tony will cover the latest trends and wealth planning best practices for successful business owners, families approaching retirement, and comprehensive wealth management. And by subscribing to the Wealth and Life podcast, keep up to date with future episodes. Get it all now at wealthandlife.com. Wealth and Life is created and hosted by Tony D'Amico, founder and managing partner of Fidato Wealth LLC, a registered investment advisor. The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. To determine which strategies may be appropriate for you, please consult a financial planner prior to making any financial decisions. Any case examples discussed are hypothetical, and any resemblance to a particular person or business is purely incidental. Please visit wealthandlife.com for other important disclosures.